stiltedness of so much documentary television and speaking to the viewer in simple colloquial English. There is a whole world separating the glitz of the television studios from everyday life. Very few programs have bridged that gap, have been able to illuminate ordinary lives in the way that Fred Dibnah does. Fred was from Bolton, Lancashire, and he was proud of it. And it was Bolton that provided his inspiration. Growing up there in the 1940s and 1950s, he fell in love with the decaying industrial landscape around him, and he developed the interests that were to stay with him for the rest of his life: steeplejacking and steam engines. He saw beauty in the mills and the chimneys and the engine houses, and especially in the great steam engines inside them. It was in these early years that Fred first became interested in climbing chimneys. Steeplejacking wasn't his first job. Fred served his apprenticeship as a joiner, although all the time, despite parental disapproval, he pursued his goal of becoming a steeplejack. Over many years he studied how steeplejacks erected their ladders and scaffolding, noted the faults in different systems, and worked out his own methods. But another passion was to play just as important a part in his life. When he was a lad, the engine sheds were just down the road from the terraced house he lived in, and he developed a dangerous addiction: steam. It was his memories of those engine sheds that got him interested in steam preservation and led to his buying a steamroller and restoring it. Fred didn't like modern methods and newfangled tools, so he decided to equip himself with a workshop powered by steam. He added to it over the years and created something unique. Until 1979, Fred was only a steeplejack who had an interest in steam engines. Then, while he was working on the clock tower of the town hall in Bolton, the local BBC TV news programme filmed a short item about him. Following this, Fred was approached by television producer Don Howarth with a view to making a half-hour film for the series about people with unusual occupations. After several months of filming, the finished article was an hour-long documentary, Fred Dibnah, Steeplejack, which won a BAFTA award. From that time on, Fred has rarely been away from our screens. He became for millions of viewers the embodiment of old-fashioned common sense. Straight-talking and frank-speaking, Fred always gave you what it said on the tin, and his forthright views on anything and everything turned him into something of a folk hero. Through his early programmes, Fred became best known for felling chimneys, but this was the job he liked least. His preference was always for restoration, and he would point proudly to chimneys and church steeples that he had restored. When he turned to presenting, his blunt, no-nonsense style and the direct, colloquial English he used made a welcome change from the majority of television presenters. The audience didn't only enjoy watching Fred, they trusted him because he was one of them. Few people on television have been better at talking to ordinary working people and putting them at their ease. But what we loved more than anything with Fred was his enthusiasm. He had a passion for anything to do with our industrial past and an infectious zest for the engineering, mechanical and craft skills of days gone by. His heroes were the great engineers of the Victorian age, such as Robert Stephenson and Isambard Kingdom Brunel. In all of his programmes, Fred's approach was very hands-on. He lived every schoolboy's dream, travelling on the footplate and driving the engines. But there was always a sense of sadness alongside the passion. He felt keenly the loss of the sights and sounds of long-gone industries. Steam and engineering weren't Fred's only loves. Because he'd worked with wood, he could talk with authority about the skills of carpenters and woodcarvers when we filmed at great castles and palaces and country houses. He loved meeting men like Peter McCurdy, who built the timber frame for the reconstruction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. While admiring the finished products, he was just as interested in the way the job had been done and in working conditions, and he was always able to put himself in the place of the workers. Whatever the job, Fred would be prepared to have a go at it himself, and whatever he saw, he'd always got one like it at home or in his back garden. As a young man, he had been to art school, and the drawings he used to show how things were built were all his own. His practical demonstrations revealed exactly how things were done, even if some of them did end in disaster. And because he'd been there and done the job